Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to another episode of Six Figures Souls Doing Good and Making Money. It's our online free summit of experts that are soul centered, that are doing well, found their passion, being authentic, and letting us know their story, hoping that you resonate with them. My name is Camille Miller. I am the founder of the Natural Life Business Partnership, a global network for soul-centered entrepreneurs. Today, we are interviewing Desirae Haluk, a neuroscientist turned marketing expert and founder of her own creative marketing company in New Jersey. Hi, Desirae. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Camille. Thank you for having me.
I love hearing your story. Desirae was introduced through another speaker. I think that's how you, and then you contacted me on LinkedIn. I think that's how I found you. And you had a relatively new company. So I was like, I don't know. But after hearing your story, I was like, she is definitely in the summit. She took our last spot, our 10th speaker, because you had such an amazing story of kind of what I call like almost climbing up the, like when people say climbing up the ladder, like you climb up the ladder and realize you put the ladder on the wrong hill. Right? And they're like, oops.
Moved over a bit.
And you moved over a bit. But I feel like a lot of people that follow their authentic selves at some point are walking like two paths. Like, and they're conflicted.
Yeah.
That's what we tend to find, and especially the people that join the community. Like they're conflicted at some point, and then they're like, "Nope, I'm totally gonna do what like just feels right in my life." So share with us your beginning story. I know it starts back in college, but of your years of neuroscience and then how you ended up opening this marketing company just 9 months ago. It was
Yeah. November.
yeah, and already hitting our six-figure ceiling. So, tell us how you did it, and a little bit about your backstory.
Sure. So, I was born and raised in Vancouver in Canada. A single parent. I have two older brothers. Great relationship with both of my parents. They were always in my life. But I watched my mother struggle as a single parent. We were on welfare and kind of grew up poor. And I was the only one in my family to go to college. But while I was putting myself through college, we didn't have the college funds that a lot of parents provide their
Right.
children today. I always worked throughout college. So one of my jobs was at a foam factory, polyurethane, and I worked the graveyard shift, uh, 10 hours a night, 4 days a week. And then I would go to school in the morning. And then I have no clue where I found time to sleep, but I've had insomnia my whole life, so it wouldn't matter, right? So
I love
I
that.
had the time. But
I
so
just,
I
I
started.
just want to interject. I love hearing that because I actually did the exact same thing. Worked the midnight shift, went to class in the morning, and now my oldest daughter is doing the same. So
Wow.
go ahead. So it must be a great trait of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I started at the bottom of the totem pole
We
pole
all
at
do.
that company,
Yeah.
and I was picking up scrap foam in this ginormous warehouse, and I would then put it in a baler, and we would we would it would kind of compress into carpet underlay, right? We would send it in these
Oh,
big
okay.
bales of foam
Yep.
and send it to carpet underlay places. So I guess I was super efficient with that because then they promoted me to pillow stuffer. Ooh.
Ah,
So
wow.
after that, so now I'm stuffing pillows. I'm taking the same scrap pieces of foam, but I'm putting them in a chipper and then I'm blowing that into pillow slips pretty much. And those are the memory foam pillows that we see and spend lots of money on, right?
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
so what I would do every night is make myself new goals. So if I made 100 the night before, I'd try to make 115 the next day. And I would get super efficient and try new things with more of like an assembly line, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, but by myself. So after that, I was promoted to mattress bagger. So this was the best job on the floor because you didn't get dirty with glue or with foam chips because you were
Okay.
just literally bagging mattresses, putting them over your head, throwing them into trucks. So after that, I got a call one day and they're like, we have someone on maternity leave in the office. Do you want to come upstairs and start answering phones and maybe picking orders and stuff? And I'm like, sure, I know everything there is to know about the foam on the floor, right? So so I did that, and I started answering the phones, and I guess I was doing a great job. And they're like, do you want to join the marketing team? And I said, yeah. And so I started doing, really, I was more of an account manager, but I was part of the marketing team.
Yeah, right.
I would go out to existing businesses that sold our mattresses and our products, and I would give them product knowledge meetings about what the foam's made of and how the numbers work. There's 4, numbers associated with foam and what they mean, and how to sell our mattresses to their customers. And I would give them spiffs, which is just cash bonuses if they sold them, right? For every mattress sold, we'd give them. So I was like the money kind of queen, and I would go on delivering money to all these salespeople on the floor. So it was so much fun. And then when let's say I was at a mattress store and I saw this little boutique store, like in the same maybe strip mall, I would go to a different store and I would just take it upon myself. Hey, you don't sell our mattresses yet. You want to start selling our mattresses?
Wow.
So getting new. And I kind of just like guided myself throughout, I was managing these accounts, but I was also selling, and it just came natural. Like, I just loved doing it. It was like, I get paid to do this. This is awesome. And so at the same time, I was taking marketing courses in college, and I was one of the courses I took was consumer behavior, and I loved the psychology behind it.
Yeah.
And that kind of transitioned into me taking a brain and behavior course, and then all of a sudden I'm doing science courses all about the brain, and it was just so fascinating. And so then I started, I'm doing my work as the sort of marketer, account manager at the foam factory. And I'm also kind of transitioning my interests at school. And
Right.
so I started volunteering in a lab, a neuroscience lab, one of the best mentors I've ever had in my life, Stan Floresco. But he taught the first thing he taught me how to do was do brain surgery on rats. And it was like,
of course.
so cool. So I loved it so much that I would then volunteer 7 days a week, because you had to feed your animals, you had to, handle them all the time in order to do behavioral experiments with them, putting them through mazes, teaching them how to press levers for food. It was just fantastic. I was just like, I wanted to be there day and night. And so one day he takes me in his office and he says, how would you like to be paid to do science? And so I was then at this, do I let my other job go, but I stay here, and it was like an hour and a half drive to get to school versus where I was. I always lived at home during school. So I had to think about it because I really loved my job, but I'm like, but this is probably where my career is going. So I chose science. So then I quit the other job. So that I got published 3 times in that lab, and I finished my bachelor's degree with in bioscience, so neuroscience. So I was like, I just completely did a 180 from what I thought I liked, and then I kind of just moved around. So then I got engaged, and we moved to Minnesota, and I became a scientist at the med school in a pharmacology lab at the University of Minnesota. There I did, mice were my subjects there, and I was doing Gurk channel research on drug addiction and pain studies and all that kind of stuff. Again, fascinating research. I loved it. Ended up getting married, having my daughter, was there for 3 years. I got published again 3 more times, so 6 in total. And then and I loved it. It was so much fun, just and so I had my daughter. She's 5 weeks old, and my husband got a job at Rutgers in New Jersey. So now we're driving to New Jersey with a 5-week-old who was colic, screaming the entire 22 hours. Brutal. So she was colic for about a year. So it was difficult. So because we're Canadian and my visa was attached to that job in Minnesota, we decided I'd stay home for a while we were waiting for our green cards. And I would, and my husband will work because he got a raise. He's now a professor, so we were doing okay. We bought a house, And then I had my second kid. And then my brother says, hey, do you want to do some work for my marketing company? He's an entrepreneur in Vancouver, owns a whole bunch of companies, but he's like, do some search engine optimization work for, I have a whole ton of accounts that you can work on. So I went to New York City. I took a boot camp on SEO, and I kind of like familiarized myself with that, with the digital marketing world, which back then was kind of like, ooh, this is new. Now it's, old news. So anyway, I ended up doing really well with that, and I loved it. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. And we lived in New Jersey, and so I started applying for jobs. Now we decided, okay, it's time for me to go back to work. Both the kids are good, and scientists in New Jersey were kind of a dime a dozen, right? There's so many of them. There's so much work out there, and there's just so many people and good talent to choose from. And I didn't have a PhD. So I thought, I'm going to make next to nothing if I do get a job. So anyway, I got a call from a friend who's like, hey, listen, it was from a gas to liquids company. And she said, I know you have business development background, but we also are looking for someone with science background. Do you want to come and interview for this job? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I had no clue what I was interviewing for. But I pretty much got hired on the spot, and I'm like, so what's my title? And they're like, you'll be a marketing manager. I'm like, yes. So then I fell into the role, and I was there for almost 3 years. Again, we were selling $200 million plants that converted natural gas into gasoline or methanol. So this wasn't like selling a cup of coffee or a mattress. Very different sales funnel. And like 5 years, you're nurturing these leads, like, a lot, you're massaging them a lot before they even show any interest. But it was so much fun. I rebranded the company, created a website, took them from a technology company to a commercialized company. It was a lot of fun. The parent company got a little bit tired of, I guess, being a 15-year-old company and not having the revenue they expected. So they started slashing employees, and we went from 60 employees to 25, and I survived the cut. But I realized, I'm like, you know what? I probably need to make a move. I was just reading between the lines, and, maybe I'm next, right?
Right.
So I ended up applying for other jobs, and one of them came up, a director of marketing for a propane company, oil and propane company for heating. And that was in New York. And I ended up getting eight interviews, which I've never had to go through in my life. Like 8 interviews. Wow. They screen their employees very well. Anyway, I was sitting on the leadership team. It was a 500-person company. My boss was a big wig in marketing. He was incredible. I learned so much from him. And I just, I increased our lead generation, sales were increasing. It was just so much fun, and I learned a ton. And then my annual review came, and my boss had left unexpectedly, so another person stepped in, and that didn't have any sales or marketing experience. And so we were not aligned. That's one, but I had an interview with them, and, the annual review, and they said, you're doing a great job. We're going to give you a bit of a raise. And that was great. And I was like super happy. I was making them happy. And then I went on vacation. Oh, and I expressed that I wanted to be on like the vice president track, right? Like what does it take for me to get there, kind of thing. And I don't know what happened, but I guess after that conversation, I came back from vacation a week later, and they took me into the boardroom, and they're like, we're letting you go. And I literally, my reaction was, what? Why? Like, what did I do? And they gave me 0 reasons for it. They just said, I think we're going in a different direction. And I'm thinking, but my number, you just said I was doing great. My numbers are up. You gave me a raise. Like, I don't know. But, my husband always said there was not enough room for 2 ladies on the leadership team, because in the oil and gas sector there's mostly men, right? So anyway, it doesn't matter the reason, but so COO calls me and said, you know what, I had nothing to do with that decision. I want you to know that, but I want you to call this person. He's the CEO of of a competitor that we had, much larger company, 4,500 people. So I called the CEO and he calls me. We have a great conversation. He's like, interview with these people in New Jersey. He's on Long Island. I said, okay. So I interviewed. He pretty much called me back and hired me on the spot. And so I was like, great. So I was regional director of marketing there. And I had, you know, half of the United States was my region.
Yeah.
And learning a ton. I was reporting directly to the CEO, which I felt very special because he was another amazing mentor for me. And I learned so much from him. So I'm doing well there for about half a year. And all of a sudden, Christmas approaches and I get an email saying, we regret to inform you that our beloved CEO has passed away. And I'm like, what? Like, what? I could not even fathom. And, you know, I literally spoke to the man every single day because I reported to him. And man, I was, you know, he's in his 50s. He just had a random heart attack and you're gone, you know? And so, during that time, of course, it's a publicly traded company. So board of directors takes over and they put all the brands on hold. There were 70 brands under this parent company and I was working on one of them. They put everything on hold. So like, you know, budget freeze, everything. So kind of just wait and see what's going to happen before they appoint a new CEO and everything. So in the meantime, I get a call from an old job, the gas to liquids job. I get a call from a colleague there and he says, hey, Des, he's like, I know you're doing marketing, but you know, I'm working for an IT consulting firm and we really need a head of marketing. Do you think you could help us? And I'm like, well, I really love my job, but I don't want to say no. And so I'm like, why don't I consult? And he's like, perfect. So I was doing 20 hours a week. So I was straddling both jobs. And
so you have the full-time plus the part-time.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
60 hour. Okay.
Exactly. And the part-time was like from home, you know, so I didn't have to
remote.
Which was nice. And so then 2 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, I get taken into the boardroom. I'm really good at being like, I'm like, it's like, oh, I've seen this before. They're like, we're shutting down the brand. We're letting everybody go and we're sorry, you know, here's your severance kind of thing. So I literally packed my box in my office. I'm out in the parking lot. I call the boss at the owner of the IT consulting firm. Hey, I'm free. And by 2:00 that day, I had a written offer letter for vice president of marketing. And
wow,
it was just like everything, you know, I
aligned.
Guess, everything.
Oh my gosh. It
right?
Sounds like as soon as the door closed for you, it was just so another one could open wider.
For sure.
And it just kept happening and happening and happening.
And you know, when you're a family and you're trying to feed your kids. I mean, you know, my husband did well enough that I didn't really have to worry that much, but still you struggle when you lose an income. So I was always so terrified to go home and just break the news because it happened so often, it seemed. So I'm at that place for a year, and loved it. I mean, we went from 2 million to 17 million in revenue in a year. I mean, it was just like fantastic.
Yeah.
So much fun. And one day I got the news that we lost our biggest client. And I was like, oh, I'm like, wow, just like,
yeah.
How can this happen? Right? There's always something. So I go home that day, I have a conversation with my husband, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna start my own business. And he's like, just do it. You'll have control then. And you know, throughout this time, I would always look at what my leaders were doing and think, I would never have done it that way. You know, and I'm sort of right. I'm taking their best practices and their mistakes, and I'm sort of keeping it up here. And always, you know, I'm banking all of that information, and I started reading business books and just learning how to be an entrepreneur. So I built my website and I started writing down processes and the services I'm going to offer. And sure enough, I straddled them for a few months, and sure enough, I got let go from that company. The whole company shut down. And I was just like, well, I've been here, done that kind of thing. And almost when I was in the boardroom that time, although I loved my time there, I had a smile on my face.
Yeah, you were ready.
My time. Like,
Yeah.
I can do this. And I think for say 5 years before that, I always pondered about starting my own company. I have a family of entrepreneurs that my brother's been an entrepreneur since he was 14. And I just, I thought I always had fear. I don't know enough. I won't make enough. And this time the fear was gone. I never looked back. I never thought I couldn't do it. I just thought, you know what? If these people I've been working for could do it, I can do it too. Why not?
Yeah. And
Right?
it's secure. I think so many people worry that being an entrepreneur isn't secure, right? And there are a lot of ups and downs, but I feel like you make what you're worth every single day. There's no cap on what you can do because you can always do more,
And you're
right? And I think it's more secure than a job. I mean, look at your own. I mean, you were really lucky that you were always able to find more work. And I kind of had that same legacy of switching. And I was also one that if I don't move, my goal, my motto actually was in 2 years I move up or I move out. So I kept getting experience in different ways.
yeah.
But, and that's the way I did it. But as I started to hit my 50s, when I was let go of it was a funding issue. I wasn't let go for anything I did. It was, I worked in a nonprofit and they lost funding on the project I was on. And I was in my 50s going, uh-oh, it gets to be a problem because now they can start hiring younger people, right,
Exactly.
at half my salary. So that was the big, like, leap for me was just like, yeah, I just got to do this. I was doing consulting and other work anyway, just kind of like you were on the side, and it was just an easier, you know, lateral step, I think, for me just to do it. But now I feel like secure that if I don't have money, I just work a little harder, a little longer, or make a few more calls, or you're
Yeah,
in total control at
absolutely.
this point. Yeah.
I feel like
So,
for me, surrounding myself with amazing people and just networking, my life is like dedicated to networking. And it's really it's how I got most of those jobs,
right.
like
It's who
just
you
meeting
know.
people. It's who I know.
Absolutely who you know.
And so at Primus Green Energy, I was the top 35 under 35 award. I won that award. Then I joined the Leading Women Entrepreneur Group, and I became a finalist for Woman of the Year award for that. And
Beautiful.
but all of those people, part of those communities, they're part of my life now. And you know, just surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you, have a lot of talent and do things that you don't do so you can learn from them, right? I mean, of
Yeah.
course people that do things that you do, but
Yeah.
I think that is the key to my success anyway.
Yeah. And
So
totally willing to co-create with you on a place of from a place of abundance, not competition.
yes,
Because I'd rather share all of my knowledge with someone because you're still not me. You
absolutely.
know, I don't know. It's the way I look at things, the way I create community. So about 9 months ago, like November, you started this. Wait, it sounds like you started it earlier, but I guess you launched this company, and you had two first clients. You tell me, and last time I spoke to you, you had 17. You could have way more than that, but so how did you go from that leap into entrepreneurship, starting your own thing, and then deciding to do a lot of the small business stuff you work with, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Clarence Services. So it's a marketing agency that it's I specialize in startups and small businesses because that's what I enjoy doing the most.
Gotcha.
Background. The smaller the company, the more fun. The less red tape, and the faster decisions are made. And yeah, I mean, mainly I thought I want to run a lean startup. I do not want, like, I knew it, I wanted it to be service based. I didn't want to have inventory or a store or I didn't want to, I just wanted something where I guess this is maybe a bad attitude, but if I failed, I wouldn't fail too deep,
Too big.
right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be too much in the
Financially.
red.
Yeah.
I could kind of stay afloat. And I've never, I mean, I built my website by myself, and that's one of the things I offer as a service. but I have a web developer doing that, you know, for me. And so now I have 2 employees, and I got all of my clients literally through networking and referral based. I would go to conferences, I would sit in the pitch rooms at conferences, and I would look at my favorite kind of pitcher, and I would go and I would sit with them and I would just ask them about their business. And it's all about relationship building for me. I never sell myself. I'm more interested in what they have to say, because I like to learn about new businesses and new companies and how did you do it? And it's almost like asking them their story. Like, how did you get to where you are? You know, and then in the end they're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a marketing agency for startups and small business. Oh my God, I need someone like that. So that's kind of how a lot of it begins. And there are people I knew from 6, 7, 8 years ago that are calling me, hey, I see that you started up your own business on LinkedIn. Can you help me with something?
Yeah.
Right. I've also from virtual networking events, I've gotten clients from that. So you don't have to be in person to actually, you know, and I always was such a believer of that. Like, you got to be in person to make the real connections. But with COVID, you know,
It
it's
changed the whole platform, right? Because
and
I mean, it allowed us also to go more global. We were, but now the people we attract have a global aspect to their business. Because of COVID, even if you were a counselor, or we had personal trainers and yogis and people that now, because of COVID, have learned to widen their market because of video. And
absolutely.
this is just as personal, I think. It's a little tiring, but it's just as personal and way more efficient than
Absolutely.
flying across a country to meet people.
Absolutely.
I think in person definitely has its benefits. It's still, I think, an important part. But I call it relationship marketing, is when you're reaching out to people and just saying, hey, what do you do? I'd like to hear more about you.
Yeah. And that's
And building those
how I do it.
relationships. Yeah, because the community that I have and run is completely 100% word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's how people learn. This summit is really about hearing other people's stories,
Sure.
so they can say, me too. Oh my gosh, me too. That's
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And
It's
that's
like,
what
if
I
they can
needed.
do
That's
it,
what
I
I
can
heard.
do it. Right. It's giving you motivation that, hey, they
Absolutely.
did it, I can do it. Right.
Absolutely. And I
So
think it's such a big part of it. So tell me what's important to you. Like, what's a core value for you in your business and what you do now?
to have fun every single day.
Well, I have to say, through this whole interview, all I could hear was you kept saying, "Oh my God, it was so fun!" Like you said with every single job. So you totally enjoyed what you were doing all along the way. So that's mindset, right? Just having this great mindset and loving what you're doing and who you're working for or with.
Yes, yes, absolutely. One just side note to that, I remember before the foam factory, I worked at a slaughterhouse for chickens. Sorry, people who are, vegetarians. But it was really good money. I was in high school. I was like 15 years old, and I literally shoveled heads for a living. The only, white female in the entire company. And it was like, I loved it. I thought it was fun. I gave myself goals. I know it sounds crazy, but I love working, I guess.
Yeah, but you're very goal oriented. You
Yeah,
you compete against you,
I do.
which is
Absolutely.
totally the way to be. And I think that's the piece of entrepreneurship. It's not just owning a business. It's, being able to bend and acclimate and reach different goals and try new things and be
Yeah,
uncomfortable sometimes. That's
absolutely.
the difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur can work in any market and just keep bending and shaping like a shapeshifter to whatever they need to be in
Absolutely.
whatever market it is. So during this like COVID time and this pandemic, and I think we're into this new kind of wave, and I don't mean wave of the viruses, just kind of like this new era of like how we're going to do business, how are we moving forward, and everyone's trying to like figure it out because we're like half open. At the time of this recording, we're like half open, and it's kind of like video and in person, and it's just
Yeah,
kind of, so it's going to be interesting how people acclimate through this. But I think making part of your business global is the most important. And like you're saying, doing those virtual meet and greets or whatever, we have them too, international ones, just because they're important. And I always tell people, take the time to do the one-on-ones. Even if you think someone's not in your market or not your person, just do it because you don't know who they're going to know. Right? And
absolutely.
it's all about building up your network.
It is. And for me, a big thing is delegating, always learning. That's
Yeah.
another thing. So have fun, always learning, and delegate anything that, like, if you don't know how to do it, find an expert that can,
Yeah.
right? I don't know how to do everything. So I'm going to do what I enjoy doing the most and what I'm best at. I will always be learning, like, that discomfort, like you said, always kind of be outside of that comfort
Yeah.
zone so that
Yeah.
you're going to grow and expand yourself. But yeah, for me, I already have 2 employees. I mean, I've been collecting revenue since February, literally, and I have 2 employees now. And it's like I would rather pay someone to do it and collect the margins right now, half
Yeah.
the margins that if I did it myself. But now I'm growing myself. I'm growing the company while they're doing
Absolutely.
that work, the busy work,
I
right?
love it.
And they're going to do a better job than me because I have so many things to do and I'm spread thin, that they're going to spend the time and do more quality work for my clients. Because in the end, it's all about the client. You make them happy. Because if
Yeah.
they're not happy, they're never going to be repeat business,
Right.
right?
And
So,
it
and
allows you to be
on.
creative. It
I,
allows you to stay in your genius, I
yes,
think. Yeah.
absolutely,
You
for sure.
have to be free enough and have enough free time to keep creating and figuring it all out, not just doing.
Yes, and finding new revenue streams. Like the other day, I saw, not the other day, a few months ago, I saw these videos, the whiteboard, the free gift that I'm giving out.
Okay.
I'm like, oh
The
my God, I want to
creation.
do this. And so literally, I I bought the software. I called up my employee and I said, "You're going to learn how to do this." And she did. She took a course. She was watching YouTube videos. I was doing, and it's addicting. Like, I love doing them. They're so much fun.
All right. So tell us about a whiteboard since it is part of your free gift, and then we can talk about your free gift as well. So tell us what one is, and then.
Okay, so they're just videos, and it's sort of a hand drawing on a chalkboard or a whiteboard or a glass board
Okay.
in any colors, any image you want. If it's your logo, they'll draw the logo. If it's just like little cartoon people in a scene, and they can be educational, they can be promotional,
Okay.
um, any type of video that you want to do. And they're so effective because you sort of write words across the screen and then the viewer can't help but to wait for the next frame. You can't help it. It's like an addiction, right? And if you get that point across in 30 seconds to a minute, like, you're golden. They get so many more clicks. I think video gets 600% more engagement than like a print ad.
That's
So
incredible.
yeah, so there, and especially now in COVID days, everybody's on their screens. People love video. They don't want to read through something. They'd rather watch it, right? That's just right.
Yeah, and this is something you do. Your agency does whiteboards for people?
Yes, so we offer that service, and so
Okay.
my clients love them, and they get addicted to them. So if they do one, and they're as low as $250, that's it. So
Okay.
video can cost thousands of dollars, right? To
Absolutely.
to take the footage, then to edit, and it's time consuming. But these are short and sweet and quick. I mean, they can be long too if you need them to be. But they're just super effective and they're different. Not too many people do them. And so yeah, they're just doodles. They're like doodles in a video,
Cool.
right?
So
So
tell us what your free offer is then.
the free offer is a $250 value video. So it's about a 30-second video. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I might
So
take you up on this one
good.
myself. We should do one actually for I could talk to you after this, for the summit, so
Yeah,
people can see it. And
that
then
would be
people can,
amazing.
it'll be a great
Like an intro.
demonstration for
Yeah,
people to see too, and we can actually put it up part of your speaker page so people can see it.
that'd be awesome.
And then
Yeah.
if you guys want to take advantage of it, you can just click the button right below this interview and get your own free whiteboard. That's a very generous offer.
It'll be fun.
Excellent. I do appreciate that.
and then hopefully people become addicted.
Yeah, that's
like I am.
I like it, and it's easy. And today, so many things can get lost. I just think that there's so much out there now that people are kind of getting tired. It's like a new way of doing things. I like it.
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
it. Terrific. Well, thank you, Desirae, so much for being a part of this summit and sharing your story. We look forward to hearing more about your work and what you're going to do. If you are watching this video and loved it, please continue the conversation in our Facebook group and let us know what you thought of it. And please share the summit sixfiguresouls.com with any of your friends that think should also watch this video, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Desirae, for your time again.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.